Tune in time. Unknown. Thank you. Really? Come on, man. Crazy. Okay. Ugh. All right. Hello?
Do you like scary movies? Hello? Are you there? Did you... Where are you? Hello?
Yes? Who is this?
You want to play a game?
Wait. Okay, wait. So, we were doing like a Scream thing, and then you veered a little bit and then took like a hard right into Saw Country. Okay. I'm just losing the plot at this point.
Look, just go to mile marker 666.
That's a little on the nose, don't you think?
If you don't, you may wake up handcuffed at Carrie Elwes.
Okay. As you wish.
What?
You know, like the Carrie Elwes in Princess Bride. He did the... Hello? Huh. All right, let's go. What? What? What does that even mean? It's just about... What now?
7 days.
Really? We're doing this? We're doing this now. Okay.
You have 7 days to make a YouTube video listing the scariest guitars you can find on Reverb.com.
7 days? For a list video? I feel like I could turn that around in like 3.
Oh, well, I mean, if you want
Also, couldn't you just texted me this? I mean, you could have emailed me pretty much anything.
Look, I mean, it's more fun.
Another thing, are you going to reimburse me for all that mileage? I mean, I had to drive like a long way out there, and I had to buy a VCR. Do you know how much those cost nowadays?
Look, I can talk to corporate about the VCR, but you're going to have to talk to your own accountants about the mileage.
I mean, that seems fair. I'm not really going to complain about that. Anything else?
Yes, if you missed the delivery window, I'll slowly peel the flesh from your body and condemn your soul to a torturous and unrelenting eternal damnation.
Okay. How about 4 days? It's the most wonderful time of the year, the Halloween season. The air is crisp unless you live on the West Coast, and the weather is temperate and moderate unless you live where I live in Texas. It's that time of year where we go to sleep at night and dream of men in red and green sweaters bounding into your dreams and pulling out your intestines with their bare hands. Makes you nostalgic. But this year, I thought we would take a little trip down Reverb Boulevard and see what the spookiest, scariest, creepiest, edgelordiest guitars that I would never purchase-ist guitars I could find. And I've assembled a list of 10 plus one sort of honorable mention of those spooky and scary guitars. So without further ado, let's jump into this thing. We're starting off this list with an honorable mention. It's not actually a guitar, but it allows you to spookify your own personal Epiphone or Gibson, but let's be honest, this is probably going on an Epiphone Les Paul style guitar. Now this is 9 skull guitar parts for Gibson and Epiphone Les Paul solid guitar metal handmade custom. Just search that on Reverb, exactly those terms, and you'll find it, I'm sure. Basically, this allows you to take a normal Les Paul and make it into Zach Bagans' Les Paul. Perfect for trips to Hot Topic, maybe going to Edgelord Fest, which I assume is a thing that you could go to in Las Vegas. This guitar has Las Vegas written all over it. Let's just put it that way. Essentially what's included is 2 skull humbucker pickup rings, a skull pickguard, 4 skull knobs, a skull toggle switch cover, and a skull jack cover. Now, to be fair, there's only one flaming skull on here, which I honestly, if I were gonna do this, I'd want flaming skulls on everything, because every good edgelord knows that if you don't have flaming skulls on it, it's not nearly as cool as that first time you saw a Ghost Rider comic at the mall in 1992. Coming in at number 10. This is listed as Haunted Paranormal Ghost Guitar on Reverb, and it was originally $666. No idea where they came up with that number, but now you can have it for $500 plus plus $66.60 shipping. Now, this guitar, I didn't put it higher on the list because if you look at it, it just looks like an old guitar. The spooky ooky part of this is mostly just because this person said that this guitar is haunted. And if you read the ad, which I have, and I'll read to you a little bit of it now, I think you'll find that this person's probably full of it. Let's see. Here's what I know and what I've been told. A kid that lived on my street when I was growing up was rumored to be into devil worship. Probably not. Seances. Maybe. Aleister Crowley. He probably just liked goth poetry. This neophyte necromancer, stop you right there. Neophyte necromancer. But the calamitous kid was found lying on his bed with this guitar draped across him, apparently electrocuted. Even though this is an acoustic guitar, that raises more questions than I can even ask at this point. Mephistophelian Moppets, GE Wildcat Record Changer. But anyway, this guitar is probably not haunted, but if you would like it, it's basically an old K acoustic dreadnought guitar. It looks kind of creepy, and if you were doing a movie where the main character went down to the crossroads to sell his soul to the devil, you might want to use this guitar for his guitar. $500? I don't know, man. Maybe. Anyway, that's why it's at number 10. At number 9, a 2010 Fernandez Revel Shin Demon Limited Edition. This guitar, according to the listing, was part of a limited run of Shin series guitars. It's very edgelordy. Actually, this artwork is kind of rad. So you've got a Japanese demon on here with what looks like red swipey lightning bolt kind of effects and this whole airbrushed art style thing. I think this guitar, while yes, it is very edgelordy, is kind of rad. But you know, it's a Fernandez, and I remember looking at Fernandez guitars in, you know, the when they'd come into like a Guitar World magazine or something back in the early 2000s when I was in high school, and never really moved the needle for me. So it's basically just a Fernandez with some cool artwork on it, but it is edgelordy. There is a demon on it, so I think it counts, and it's definitely scarier, if you ask me, than the haunted guitar. But the scariest part of the whole thing is that this guitar ships from Moscow in Russia, which right now is probably a scary place. Then again, I live in America, so not many things are scarier than that. Coming in at number 8, the Hallmark Wingbat. Now, Hallmark, known for their surfy, kind of swept wing design guitars, this is a super rad guitar for me. Mostly because it doesn't so much look like a horror movie bat kind of situation. It looks more like the 1966 Batmobile. And this looks like they took those fins off of it and turned it into a guitar. I love this thing. Is it spookier or creepier than some of the other guitars on this list? Probably not, but that's why I put it up so high. Mostly I just want one. Now this is 49 out of 100, comes with its original hard shell case, got that big sort of Bigsby style kind of tremolo system on it. Looks like a single P90 in it. Honestly, there's not much else to say about this guitar other than I really want one. The case is also super rad. Hey, Future Chris here. Now, like the second I struck the set on this video, I realized I started doing more research on the Wingbat because, of course, I've kind of become obsessed with it. And I found out that it actually is the Batmobile turned into a guitar. George Barris, the man who actually designed the 66 Batmobile, as well as like a lot of other movie cars from the 60s and TV cars, including the Munsters Dragula, which is another favorite of mine. He got approached by Hallmark, and they did a short little run of guitars that are sort of tributes to the George Barris designs. So there is a Wingbat version of it, which you see there, and there is also a Munsters one of the Dragula. So that's literally where they came from. So I'm also really still considering grabbing one because I'd love to do a video on it. Also, I'd like to get one of the, if I could get both of them, that would be great. So if anyone's got a lead on one of those Dragula guitars, please let me know. So now back to more of this nonsense. Honestly, I just want this guitar. I put it on this list. I honestly think I put it on this list just because I want to buy it. So if you do see me with a Hallmark Batwing, number 49 out of 100, made in 2017, that's why I put it on this list, because I think I want this guitar. I might buy this guitar. Should I buy this guitar? Coming in at number 7, the Schecter USA Custom Shop Masterworks Coffin Guitar with carved cross-aged vintage wood, case included, $2,500. Now, I think this is actually a really cool looking guitar. I've seen a lot of these coffin guitars from Schecter, and they do sort of different designs. Some of them are kind of have an airbrush kind of vibe going on. I think this is actually a really cool looking guitar, mostly because they left it raw wood. You've got crucifixes all over it, clearly. I guess, in a way, if you strung this guitar the other way, you could play this guitar left-handed or right-handed. And I think that would mean if you play it right-handed, you've got the upside-down crosses, which is super metal. And if you play it left-handed, you've got the regular side crosses, so you can play it in a church. And it's in amazing shape, but again, they're asking like $2,500 for it. But it's, you know, it's one of those Schecter custom shop joints, made in Burbank, California, or Burbank if you're nasty. This one is from 2014, and I think it is technically new. Honestly, the only thing that's weird about this is it looks like they took these pictures in front of some sort of new construction school in the suburbs. That red brick is creepy, and to be honest, if you zoom in just to the right of this guitar, it looks like something or someone urinated right next to where they took pictures of this guitar. So that makes it a little bit creepier. At the very least, gross. Pretty gross, super gross. It's a pea guitar. Coming in at number 6, the first ESP on our list. Now there's a couple coming up because honestly, if you're gonna do a list of spooky or scary or edgy guitars, ESP is gonna probably come up a couple of times. This one is I guess you could say beautiful, 1994 ESP George Lynch Flaming Skull. Now they only made 50 of these, and this is number 49. I've seen a couple of these pop up on Reverb, so they're very rare, but they are attainable. However, they're only attainable if you can afford $7,200. This guitar is $7,200, but I guess it's extremely rare. Now, George Lynch, of course, of Dokken and his various solo projects, is known for playing some of these sort of outlandish and crazy guitars. So if you're a huge George Lynch fan, I mean, go for it. This one in particular, it sort of looks uncomfortable to play. I'm sure it's not, because it's a sort of S-shaped guitar. Single Seymour Duncan humbucker. It's got a Floyd Rose though, so the scariest part of this guitar is probably going to be tuning it. Skull and crossbone inlays in the neck look kind of rad. And it's just, it's an ESP custom shop from the 90s. Now, any list of edgy, spooky, scary, hot topic-y guitars would not be complete without an entry from BC Rich Guitars. Now, BC Rich Guitars makes some of the pointiest, some of the sharpest, some of the spookiest, ookiest guitars that you'll ever see. Mostly the Warlock, and I think George Lynch played a Gunslinger for a little while. This one is a little bit different. The BC Rich Draco from 2007 in what they call Silver Fade. Now this particular one is number 1 of 100 in the first production run, and you really don't see these a lot. That's why I think it fits really well if I had to put a BC Rich on this particular list. So this guy comes in a coffin case. So there you go, spooky solved. You put it in a coffin and it's automatically terrifying. Apparently that's how Halloween works. I think the most terrifying thing about this guitar is trying to play it. It's a flying V essentially, but they managed to take the flying V, which is already difficult to put on your lap, and make it look less comfortable and more difficult to put on your lap. This thing has a humbucker in the bridge and looks like hot rails in the neck. What's weird to me about this is that inlay on the fretboard makes this neck look so wide. Like, I mean, this neck looks insanely wide. It almost looks like a 7-string guitar, but it's definitely only 6 strings. But essentially, it's the edgiest, sharpest flying V you've ever seen, and that really does not shock me coming from a company that made that very famous green acrylic clear gothy guitar from the late 90s that was on every Guitar Center ad and every Guitar Center poster when you pull up in front. Kind of right next to that terrifying image of John 5 with the big stretchy face mouth thing going on. That haunted my dreams for many, many a year. As we've broken down into the top 5, we're bringing you NumberFour, which is a custom guitar, the Doug Rowell Dragon Den from 2007. This is a completely custom guitar made by what they say master sculptor Doug Rowell, who if I was better at hosting a YouTube show, I would have done some more research on, but I didn't. So I'm gonna read you what's in the Reverb listing. It says, custom engraving by master sculptor Doug Rowell. A number 3 of a limited set, the Dragon Den has intricate carvings depicting a dragon with skulls held in its claws. This is truly an incredible work of art for display and adoration. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention, it plays great. Now, I'm sure it does play great. It's essentially a super strap with 3 hot rails in it. Luckily, it does not have a Floyd Rose, which makes it a little more livable, if you ask me. The reason I think this is creepy, other than the fact that there's a whole lot of Geiger style things happening here with the stretched out sort of flaming skull thing up at the top horn that looks kind of like a xenomorph head. It kind of looks like skin. The finish he put on this just kind of oiling that wood really makes it look like the Necronomicon or something like that. And for that alone, it makes it super creepy to see. The headstock is bananas. I don't hate it, but it is bananas. This whole thing is actually really well done. Not for me, but I think it definitely fits towards the top of any creepy guitar list. I mean, you've got a dragon and skulls, and it looks like skin. Coming in at number 3, another ESP guitar. This time it is a one-off. This is a ESP Shinigami God of Death 1-of-1 museum piece from 2009's NAMM. So this was made by Custom Shop, by the ESP Custom Shop in Japan. Master built guitar for 2009 NAMM. It's made out of one of their sort of King V style guitars. It has a single Duncan JB in the bridge position and a Floyd Rose trim, of course, because if you're gonna be this metal, you need to take a year and a half to tune your guitar. I think this is amazing looking. The amount of detail work on this guitar is insane. So you've got the sickle that goes through the whole guitar, this like scythe thing with your Grim Reaper skull breaking through the glass. I mean, it's the edgelordiest of edgelord guitars. But the fact that they put the sickle going all the way through the back of the guitar too is an attention to detail thing that I think is actually really, really cool. As far as playability, it's essentially a King V. So it's gonna play probably like a King V. I would get concerned that my arm would that sickle thing would kind of get in the way of my right arm. But good news is, if you are into this level of edgelordery, you can get this guitar for, get this, $13,999.99. Thank God it wasn't $14,000, because then I would never even have put it on this list. That's insane. Coming in at number 2. A guitar that's probably familiar to a lot of you because these things pop up all the time, but are still super rare, because I'm convinced no one has ever actually purchased one of these guitars. It's the ESP LTD Devil Girl from 2003. You see them every once in a while. There's only about 100 of them that were ever made, but this one is blemished. So they're saying they're giving you a discount on it. So this one is going for $2,000, almost $2,100. But it's the famous Devil Girl guitar in its custom case. And I mean, good luck ever finding another case to fit this guitar. It just looks so cumbersome and difficult to play. Clearly, the Flying V situation is its own thing. You kind of can put it through your legs. It's still kind of difficult. But this thing looks like everywhere you would sit it on your lap has a point, which seems to be a theme with a lot of these guitars. And it's ESP, so if it wasn't pointy, they're not as pointy as a BC Rich, but they're still pretty pointy. This one in particular takes the cake though, because it just looks so delicate. Honestly, I would be terrified that I'd break it, because there's so many things that could go wrong. I will say the one thing that gets overlooked about this guitar that I think is a really cool touch, anytime someone talks about these, is how the tail of the Devil Woman goes up into the fretboard and onto the fretboard. That's a cool little touch. However, I never want one of these guitars. I think they're insane, and I don't know who would play them, to be entirely honest. If you own one of these or you play one of these, just let me know in the comments what is the matter with you. Coming in at number 1. The spookiest, ookiest, most horrifying guitar of all the guitars on Reverb, in my personal opinion, as of middle of October 2020, year of our dumpster fire, is the guitar made of nails known only as the Tetanus caster, which is a really great omen for a guitar that you would purchase. This is an art guitar, clearly, made by a sculptor who I've seen do a couple other guitars on here. This one looks like straight out of a 9 Inch Nails music video, like 90s era. Honestly, this guitar looks like it came out of Tetsuo the Iron Man. That movie would birth this guitar. It looks horrifying to play. Made in Meriden, Connecticut by New Perspectives Music. It's certainly a new perspective on what you can do to a guitar. it looks like every time you change, like imagine changing pickups while playing this guitar and just immediately cutting yourself wide open. Like I just feel like every time, like can you imagine swinging this guitar around at like a hardcore show in 2003? Honestly, you would rule every hardcore band if you were doing that, but it would hurt so bad. This is another guitar that I don't think I could put on my lap. It's terrifying. In fact, this guitar comes with a disclaimer. You may get hurt playing this guitar, but it's worth it. Questionable. I and my company are not responsible for injuries sustained while using this guitar. Now, I've never purchased a guitar that had a warning label on it. That's not haunted, I guess. The other guitar on the list, that really cheap K acoustic from number 10 is, I guess that could be a disclaimer. But this, I would say this is the first time I've seen an actual disclaimer on a guitar about bodily injury or harm. But I think I'm gonna have to pass on that one because again, I don't want tetanus and I like all of my limbs. So on that note, it's time that we end the, hang on, that guy again. Hey, just finishing up that video.
Oh, okay. Well, bad news on that.
Is this about my skin or?
No, well maybe. Basically, the boss,
Satan?
Rupert Murdoch, actually.
Right. I'm not actually surprised by that.
Yeah, well, he decided to push this over to Ryan at Secret Cycle Hall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're not going to need yours.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is really Ryan Burke's bit anyway. I mean, he's got a great beard, though. Super, thick really follicles on that guy.
Yeah, he really is. I touched it one time.
Really? Tell me everything. No, wait. Did this mean that I'm not going to get tortured and damnation and all that stuff? Are we done with this thing?
Well, technically, we do have a contract, but I have some ideas for some future videos. Now,
okay.
Hear me out.
Shoot.
7 circles of fifths.
Mm-hmm. That is definitely an idea.
Building a 66 fret 6-string bass.
That's a stretch.
I see what you did there. We should really hang out sometime.
Yeah, sure, totally.
I mean, if I don't have to peel you, anyway, how about a video on theremin players who are also secret Satanists? I mean, you could really do just about anything.
This is gonna take like a while, so why don't you guys just like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell if you want more of whatever apparently this guy is gonna try and make me do. I'm gonna do my best to not get healed, if I can help it, for the rest of at least 2020. Thanks for watching. Let me get back to this thing. What was that last one? Okay. 5 guitarists who you didn't know were also anti-vaxxers. I don't know, man.